Thank you, Mr. Peter. Thank you, Tammy, for joining in. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I know it is very important. There is ongoing crisis in Southern Cameroon, and that is why I have these obligations to speak tonight. Uh, Here again, my name is Fonton Daniel. I will be speaking this evening. Thank you, Phoebe, for joining in. Thank you, Matthias, for joining in. And if you just join in, just share so that we have some people to tune in to us this evening. Here again, my name is Fontan Daniel. I will be speaking here from this great state of Texas. Remember that you can always get me live on YouTube. You can always get me live on my Facebook. And I have started the Instagram live on Instagram, but it has not been very effectively. I think there's more work need to be done. And I want to take a moment to thank all of you joining me this evening. And if you just tune in, and if you here in the United States, just indicate below that here in the United States. If you're in Europe, just indicate that you are in Europe. If you are in ground zero, just indicate ground zero. If you are in La Republique, just indicate La Republique. Wherever you are, if you are in Europe, just indicate Europe. I know many of my people in Europe, they're probably sleeping now. They might think the day is out of breath. If you're in China, wherever you are, Russia, I just want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in this evening. I think many of you, before I proceed, I want to thank all of you to tune this evening. I want to thank the United States President. I want to thank the U.S. Secretary of State. I want to thank the U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations. I want to thank all members of the Trump administration. I want to thank U.S. Congress. I want to thank U.S. Senate. And I want to thank U.S. Department of Defense. But as I'm coming to you this evening, it is very, very crucial and it is very, very important. I know many of you are not aware. I know you saw the horrible images that I posted on my Facebook, and that tells you the situation in the Southern Cameroon territory. I know the world community remains silent, and it doesn't occur to them that it is time that they need to do something. And we understand that it belongs to the people of this race. And so it doesn't matter to them to really take actions. And so the people of Southern Cameroon are now being murdering as I speak. There is a military wing of the Republic of Cameroon. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Mado. Thank you for joining in this evening. If you just join in, I just want to take a moment to thank all of you. And I want you just to share. I know many people might be probably sleeping, but I have to make a statement this evening. Um, you know, I speak about the Republic of Cameroon. I have been talking about these issues that United Nations has neglected, and because it is a country, Southern Cameroon is a part of the United Nations, and the world community has paid a debt here. And the Republic of Cameroon has invaded the Southern Cameroon territory. They don't have any legal legitimacy over the people of Southern Cameroon. And we have been calling on the international community and to no avail. And why the people of Southern Cameroon are being slaughtering, and it doesn't occur to the world that it is something that they need to take unilateral actions against the Republic of Cameroon. And they remain silent. I want to take a moment to, let's take a minute of silence for the people of Bello. Come and let's take a minute of silence for Anyajwa. Anyajwa is in the northwest region, in Southern Cameroon territory. And the people has witnessed a massive killing, a massive genocide that has been carried out by the Republic of Cameroon. And little children are being slaughtered. Remember that my last video that I posted last time showing the Republic of Cameroon army being slaughtering a man and in front of the children. And that video, I still have it on my Facebook. But today, I have the people of Anyajwa. The people of Anyajwa is in the northwest region of Southern Cameroon territory. And in Boyo divisions, there is a truck of military sent by the Republic of Cameroon to the northwest region, and that the people, despite the fact that the people are not left their home and they are permanently in the forest. While they're in the forest, the military wing are using helicopters. There are at least 5 helicopters that have been borrowed from French government, and they're currently parading the Southern Cameroon territory, most especially the Bello, the Nginicom, and the Mbingo hospital, where some of the wounded citizens or civilians were being taken there for treatment. But unfortunately, the military is now shooting randomly in the hospital that's supposed to be the safest environment that need to be respected even by the international norms of international community. Right now that I'm speaking, I know the world remains silent. And we have embassy. Our embassy is in Washington. Our embassy, U.S. embassy in the Republic of Cameroon. Maybe United States is not aware of the severity of the consequences of citizens being murdered by this brutal evil force. Remember, Paul Biya has been in power for 36 years while I'm speaking. Paul Biya, this brutal dictatorship, has been in power for 36 years. He has not organized any meaningful election conducted that allowed transparent democracy. So Southern Cameroon is a trusted territory of the United Nations and has asked international community to intervene, but yet the international community remains silent. Why I am speaking, I think I have some of the images that I posted on my Facebook. Children, mothers and children are being slaughtered indiscriminately and they're being murdered. There is ongoing genocide happening now that I'm speaking in the Anglophone speaking territory of Southern Cameroon. I know I have been talking about these issues, and it doesn't seem the international community is paying attention to the ongoing genocide and murdering of citizens of Southern Cameroon by the military of the Republic of Cameroon, and in complicity with the French government. The French ambassador stood up in a national television over there in the French-speaking Cameroon and said, the Southern Cameroon territory, remember the Southern Cameroon is a former British trusted territory. When I mean by British trusted territory, I mean by a British colony. And so both of them decided to join together to live for a common good, for prepare for mutual prosperity. But the francophone speaking has claimed most of the majority of production, agricultural sector, farming sector, and so political sector in such a way that they want to uh, totally abolish the Anglo-Saxon heritage in Southern Cameroon. I happen to be one of the sons that was born in that territory. And we have been speaking about these issues. It hasn't occurred to the international community that they need to investigate. Southern Cameroon is a member of the United Nations Trusted Territory. Remember that the United Nations Secretary General, who is currently here in the United States, here in New York, he traveled to Central African Republic. On his way, after the crisis has erupted, he stood up in the Republic of Cameroon. Instead of him investigate, traveling to the area that have been affected, he absolutely paid no close attention. He deliberately ignored the Southern Cameroon crisis, and he was awarded a gold, which I have it posted on my Facebook. And a certain amount of money was given to him, to the United Nations Secretary General. And so when he came back to United States, he remained silent. That's the most worst corrupted body I have ever seen in this entire world, the United Nations office here in the United States. It is very sad to see human beings being slaughtered by the worst brutal dictatorship. If you have ever remember the Iraqi dictatorship that was removed from Iraq, and you know of the brutal dictatorship that was removed from Iraq, then you can understand where I am coming from. The citizens of Southern Cameroon, right now that I speak, the citizens are now in the forest. As they are living, they have abandoned their home, and those homes have been burned down to ashes by the brutal force of the military wing of the Republic of Cameroon. Right now that I'm speaking, I think I have some images which I have posted on my Facebook. And it hasn't occurred to the international community that they need to pay attention, that they need to investigate. They need to send an immediate solution to evaluate the crisis in Southern Cameroon. Right now that I'm speaking, it doesn't occur to the world. United Nations is paying no consequences to understand that Southern Cameroon territory, an English-speaking territory, the former British colonial territory, is going through a turmoil by the worst military dictatorship of Paul Biya regime. And despite the fact that we have bring alert to the international community, right now that I'm speaking, the cabinet, the Southern Cameroon cabinet that was in Nigeria were adopted with complicity of the United Nations Office, Deputy Secretary General, Mrs. Amina Mohammed. The United Nations Deputy Secretary General is collaborating with the evil dictatorship of Paul Biya and the Nigerian government of Buhari. And this has occurred that has made the worst dictatorship in the entire world, Africa. Right now that I'm speaking, at least the citizens of Bello, the citizens in Bello, the citizens in Anyadua, the citizens in Com, even including the hospital. The hospital are being shot at a random, indiscriminately. And I mean, it is sad when you feel that the international community ignore the reality because of bribery and corruption. United Nations office is guided by the corrupted body that I have ever seen in the entire world. I remember when Bill Clinton stood up and said no to the Kosovo crisis. I know Bill Clinton stood up and said no to the Kosovo crisis. And he sent the military of the United States. And the Kosovo crisis was restored. But Southern Cameroon territory, right now I'm speaking, even the ambassadors of these great nations in this world are residing in the Republic of Cameroon. It doesn't occur to them that they need to bring attention. I have been speaking about these issues of genocide being carried out by the Southern Cameroon territory, by the Republic of Cameroon. Southern Cameroon territory was never a colonial territory of the Republic of Cameroon. That I'm speaking. United States voted in United Nations in 1960, recognizing the sovereignty of Southern Cameroon as a sovereign nation. And U.S. has ambassador, and the ambassador in Cameroon, in the Republic of Cameroon, supposed to represent these great nations of the United States. And I imagine that if United States is well respected the world over, and I can imagine that U.S. ambassador remains silent, why there is continued genocide and murdering children as age as 14 years, children in their, I mean, it is very, very sad that you can be sitting here. I just get up from work and I just came home and I was very saddened by the images coming from the home that I believe I was born. I may not physically in that particular home, but I am indeed in pain, and that I see international community remain silent, even though we've been reporting this crisis that is ongoing by the Republic of Cameroon. Republic of Cameroon has no legal authority. It is very sad that the Republic of Cameroon has no legal authority over the people of Southern Cameroon as a sovereign nation. The people of Southern Cameroon are educated. They are intelligent. They know what is wrong and what is right. They have stepped forward and said, no, we cannot live in a government of autocracy, a government that lacks accountability, a government that lacks respect, a government that failed to recognize human beings and focus more on the interest of self-interest. And Southern Cameroon, as a sovereign nation, is asking the world for interventions. I am also asking for intervention. Many demonstrations has occurred and asking for intervention. But yet the world community are playing overtime. France is the architect. France is the subject that orchestrated the invasion of Southern Cameroon. The Republic of Cameroon cannot even respect its own law. Why should the Southern Cameroon be the subject of the Republic of Cameroon law? There is a law, there is a case that was passed today. The same law says Southern Cameroon territory shall never be judged out of Southern Cameroon. The Republic of Cameroon has no legal authority over the people of the Anglophone speaking. And many of the people of the world doesn't want to speak the reality and stand for the suffering of people, as they continue to regard as the United Nations Secretary, one of the United Nations representatives, state that they are watching. What are you watching? The murdering of people, the slaughtering of people? Is that what you're watching? Is that what United Nations is intended to do? I think United Nations need to take its responsibility and take unilateral actions against the will of the people, because United Nations, France is the veto power over the United Nations, and that is why slaughtering of people is commonly carried out. Remember, Britain still remains the colonial territory, the colonial master of the Southern Cameroon, and yet the British government still remains silent. And we are asking United States for unilateral interventions on the people of Southern Cameroon. You cannot imagine that the citizens are here in the United States and feel the worst genocide. Even the citizens that travel from here are being arrested and dumped in the infested, disgusting prison the worst in ever in West Africa. And yet the international community regards this as okay. It is very sad. It is absolutely sad to see international community remain silent. And as these problems continue to erupt, it will reach at a point where there will be no solution. Because if United Nations should be proactive, United Nations should be able to focus on conflict prevention. How can United Nations work in a conflict prevention? To identify places where there is a potential for crisis to erupt and ensure that proper investigation and see where United Nations can intervene. But when you have a United Nations body that is more concerned of bribery and corruption, then then it is horrible to find a solution or a common ground in a crisis situation. And that is why when you see crisis erupted in the rest of the world, one would imagine that why are they infighting? It's because the body that was created in 1945 are being led by certain individuals that lack credibility, knowledge, skill, and able to stand as a defender of world peace. As I'm speaking here, members of the United Nations, they might be watching, but they remain silent to take unilateral actions against the perpetrator. Southern Cameroon, as an English-speaking territory, they believe in transparent government. They believe in an elected officials. They believe that they should be able to manage their affairs. And having lived with the Republic of Cameroon for the past 56 years, has not yielded any fruit to the people of Southern Cameroon. But all the Southern Cameroon can witness is the murdering genocide, and this is ongoing process, and with the complicity of the French government. And when the ambassador, the French ambassador in the Republic of Cameroon, stood up in the media and describing the people of Southern Cameroon more than he thinks that he knows the consequence, the crisis of Southern Cameroon more than the people, the sons and the indigenous. He is choosing a divide and rule system. The French ambassador chose a divide and rule system. What is the divide and rule system? They want to merge the Anglophone territory with part of the Francophone territory, and merge the other territory with part of another Francophone territory, so that immediately to discard physically in the Republic of Cameroon is also buying on this idea. I am speaking here to the United States government. If our ambassador from the United States cannot understand the wishes of the people, then he ought not to be an ambassador to the Southern, to any part of the world. If you can understand the historical fact of a people and you form a divide and rule system as a means to an end, then you might create a more disaster than solving the issues. I think if the US ambassador is not aware of this cultural identity, then I think even in any facilities, even in any healthcare facilities, they still recognize cultural identity, cultural diversity. It is a very important of our society to be able to recognize cultural identity. Because once you ignore the cultural identity, you cannot execute any form of treatment, care, or any form. But unfortunately, and this does not only apply to healthcare system, it also applies universally. We are in a homogeneous culture that we need to be able to respect each culture and be able to assimilate, to be able to work together across every spectrum. Well, but the US ambassador is romancing with the French ambassador over the sovereign people. And this has led to havoc and murdering and slaughtering of the citizens. If US ambassador represent the value of these great nations, then they ought to listen to the indigenous of the people. Right now that I'm speaking, the cabinet of Southern Cameroon that was adopted in Nigeria and the United Nations Under Secretary Amina, US Deputy Secretary to the United Nations, was physically in Nigeria. And right now that I'm speaking, the international community remains silent, and no one has a call that we need to investigate and find out where are this cabinet of the Southern Cameroon. Remember, the Republic of Cameroon has never conquered the Southern Cameroon. They were never a part of the United Nations 1961 referendum that granted the independence of Southern Cameroon. Remember, the Republic of Cameroon was not part of that United Nations decisions. In 1961, when the United Nations granted the independence of Southern Cameroon, the Republic of Cameroon was not part of that decisions. Remember, in 1960, when the United Nations granted the independence of the Republic of Cameroon, Southern Cameroon was not part of that decisions. So Southern Cameroon, as a sovereign nation, the citizens have a choice to make decision whether they want to remain with the Republic of Cameroon or they want to stay there, they want to go their own way. It is not the duty of the Republic of Cameroon to invade the Southern Cameroon. And yet, the international community, the United Nations office remains silent. And why I am speaking here, it doesn't occur that United Nations need to send an investigator, despite the fact that United Nations has office in Cameroon, because they fail to give inaccurate information exactly what is happening. And from inaccurate information, there is inaccurate decisions that are promulgated to the innocent citizen. And when this occurs, what happens? The genocide and murdering of the citizens of Southern Cameroon. And as I'm speaking here, I know many of you have a member that is the congressperson. Will you make a call for the people of Southern Cameroon? We have got enough of this murdering and genocide. Each time when you get here and you realize, you make a phone call, you realize that either your brother was murdered, your son was brutal murder, your grandma was burnt alive, as a 67-year-old mother was burnt alive as I'm speaking. It is very, very tragic to regard the world community remain silent over this genocide that is going on in the Anglophone territory. Even the international media remains silent. I mean, it's very embarrassing. It is absolutely embarrassing seeing the international community remain silent over genocide. And you can even hear from any major media talking about it. Well, you can understand the reason because of this. That is why it doesn't occur to them to speak about it. And that is why citizens have been murdered. Just imagine it was in Europe. The entire media would be singing for the rest of the whole entire month if this happened in Europe. But in African continent, it doesn't matter. We are citizens of, we are born there, and we physically here in the United States. We contribute for the nation building of the United Nations, United States. And if we are physically here in the United States and asking for help, how much can we ask for help? And they look into this and become a major issues. I mean, it is very, very regretful and very, very offensive. And you can see a member of the United Nations stood on the media and said they are still watching when people are being murdered, children are being murdered, and mothers are being burnt alive. Children, 60,000 citizens of Southern Cameroon are in Nigeria. They are basically living on a single meal in 24 hours. Imagine, can you live in a single meal in 24 hours? That is what the Southern Cameroon are living. The Southern Cameroon are self-sufficient. They are able to work their crops. I mean, they have produced all their crops, but they are being invaded and deprived of their food that they have produced. And now they are living in the forest. And one doesn't care that it is something of a priority that the world community need to intervene and see what is going on. It is sad. It is absolutely disgusting that how United Nations remains silent. You can look at the images that I posted on my Facebook. You see a little child, probably 14 years or 15 years old, being stabbed and shot in front of their parents. I mean, it's disgusting. It is. One have a question. Why will you? I mean, what relationship does the Republic of Cameroon have over the Southern Cameroon? It's simple. It's simply just a neighbor you invite. Southern Cameroon never have any relationship. Southern Cameroon independence was granted in 1961. The Republic of Cameroon independence was granted in 1960. Those are two identical, different culture, different political aspects. And the sality and murdering of its citizens. And they don't even care what are their physical limitations. The military has indiscipline, that lack of discipline, that lack of judgment, and including all the entire system of government of the Republic of Cameroon. Of course, someone has been in power for 36 years. You can expect what kind of government should come up from him. He's 85 years old. He can't even remember the name of the wife. He can't even remember his son's name. He cannot even pronounce words that are well understood by people like you and I. And yet, he is in power. The Southern Cameroon issues can never be discussed about even in their own parliament. And why do you think Southern Cameroon should continue to accept? And someone is asking, they don't want dialogue. Who do you want to dialogue with? With someone who is 85 years, mentally incapacitated, lack of judgment, lack of clinical. What are you going to discuss with him? He appointed someone, an ex-convict. Ex-convict means someone who is a criminal. And he appointed him as assuming that he represents an Anglophone speaking, an ex-convict. I have his images on my Facebook. An ex-convict appointed as a minister to discuss the Anglophone crisis. I mean, it is absolutely disgusting. And that the international community remains silent. And a U.S. ambassador invite those Aztec and speak to them. Don't speak to the CPDM government. U.S. ambassador, if U.S. ambassador lack of judgment, we have ready available ambassador here in the United States, intelligent, educated, and everything. In the best university, they can represent United States and speak on behalf of the United States instead of having someone in the Republic of Cameroon and why the genocide and murdering of citizens are going on. United States is the most important nation on earth. United States is the most important nation on earth. They value the human being. They rule by law. It's not just any kind of person can come. I mean, no one is above the law here in the United States. And we are so privileged to have this opportunity. But we cannot sit here and see our family being murdered by the evil force of the Republic of Cameroon under the complicity of the French government. And we remain silent. It is absolutely disgusting. It is absolutely. You would agree with me that if this incident would have happened in Europe, it would have been all over the media. All the images will be posted everywhere in all the major media. But because it's from, you can name what it is from this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Why should the world be in this format? Why? We all live in this world. We all are in transition period in this world. God did not make a mistake. God gives everyone the power. If God has chosen United States to lead, United States must stand as a leader of the free world. And so anyone that stands and represents United States, if I was chosen as an ambassador to any country, I will speak on behalf of the value of the United States. I won't discriminate. I won't choose any individual. I will speak the value of the United States because having educated in this great nation, I understand the value of the United States, and I would not, in any circumstances, devalue the United States. And so anyone appointed must have the basic fundamental education of these great nations. And that is why the people of Southern Cameroon have been murdered indiscriminately. And yet we have an ambassador that is in that country. I mean, it's disgraceful. It is disgraceful. Imagine you come home, you don't even, your home is burnt. The food, I mean, it's sad. It is absolutely sad. And that you have your food that you have prepared, and you come home and you see that everything has been destroyed by the military wing. That is the military that you identify as supposed to protect your citizens. And citizens supposed to run from attack to their own military, because the essence of the military is to protect the citizens. But when that very military deviate from their obligation and become the murdering of the citizens, then that government needs to be brought down to the ground, to be discarded, and allow the citizens decide what form of government they choose. And that is why the people of Southern Cameroon has stood up and firmly that they want their sovereign nations, and they do not want to deal with the Republic of Cameroon. I mean, despite all this crisis, the French ambassador stood up and said the Republic of Cameroon, the Anglophone speaking, should be divided. It is very sad. Okay, let me bring it typically here in the United States. Just imagine United States, Mexico is a sovereign nation. United States is a sovereign nation. Let's say Mexico choose to live together with United States, and they recognize that they can live together. And United Nations recognize that Mexico is a sovereign nation, and United States is a sovereign nation. So, but they choose to live together, and they manage their resources together. But instead of United States say, okay, since Mexico is part of United States, let's provide advanced development. Let's promote cultural development. Let's produce economic development. Instead, United States just consume all the property of Mexico. That is a typical example, and fail to develop Mexico. That is a typical example. That's what is going on in the Southern Cameroon crisis. The fact that Southern Cameroon is a sovereign nation does not give the Republic of Cameroon sovereignty over the people of Southern Cameroon. And the cabinet are now in jail. The entire cabinet are in jail. It's been 3 months today, and it doesn't occur to the world community that they need to investigate. They need to call. All the major effort has been done. All consultation has been done. But yet, action to be taken remain irrelevant to the international community. Action to be taken remain irrelevant. And the slaughtering continues. Murdering continues. As what is happening today. As what is happening today. The world remains silent. Is that the world we are building? Maintain peace and security? Is that the environment that we are making to be more comfortable for us to live in this world? We all will one day shall die. All of us have a duty to protect one another. But when we fail in our obligation to protect those vulnerable within our society, and we pay less attention, but we focus more of our own self-identity, self-glorification, and ignore those of the lesser class. Remember, God will answer your question, and God will respond to you as an individual. Failure to obligate, failure to carry on your duty. Imagine mother, children, are being burnt alive today. Mother and children burnt in their home alive. They closed their door, blocked the door, and burned them into life alive. It is sad. It is absolutely disgusting. But the world community remains silent. United Nations remains silent. United Nations can never act because it already collected bribery. If United Nations is the chief architect of bribery corruption by moving around and corrupting and collecting bribery, then how do you expect them to intervene when crisis erupted? That is why we need cleaning here in New York. The United Nations building need cleaning. You all understand the World Cup. When corruption was erupted in the World Cup, it takes a single United States Attorney General. It takes a single United States Attorney General and send a memorandum, and those individuals were arrested. And today, World Cup has a better management. But we have United Nations here in the United States, the country where laws prevail, regulations prevail, human rights prevail, and we have a body that is physically here. We do not need to pay a transport to get those individuals that are involved in the bribery and corruption. And that is why, because of that, because my tax money are being collected to fund this building, the United Nations building here in the United States. My tax money are being used to fund this United Nations. And so I have my people are being murdering because we believe that United Nations office need to be able to stand for its obligation and protect indigents. And because I am happy to participate that some of my tax money will be converted to support this United Nations. But meanwhile, the revenue that is used to support the United Nations, they are engaged in bribing and corruption. So I living here and I have people being murdered. And we have an office that is led by the worst bribing corrupted individuals here in the United States. It is amazing to find that United States is housing the most corrupted individual here in the United States. It is sad. It is amazing sad. It is amazing sad that the worst corrupted individuals are in these great nations. And it doesn't occur to the world community to investigate and find out exactly what is going on. Southern Cameroon is a member of the United Nations. It is the duty of the United Nations to act. And they have the power to do so. I want to take I don't want to take all of your time, but I want to thank you for this evening. I understand, and you can understand the pain that I have to go through, and you understand the pain many Southern Cameroon that are in this great nation and elsewhere, and they have to go through, and they find that their problem they cannot find a solution. But I believe the God of mighty is watching, and each and every individual shall be treated accordingly. I want to thank you, all of you. Good night.